Dr. Lisa Hayes rubbed her tired eyes and looked at the screen again. She had been working at the Deep Space Monitoring Station for 6 years, and she had never seen anything like this. The station floated in the cold darkness near Neptune, far from Earth's warm light. It was her job to listen for signals from space, but most days she heard nothing but empty silence. Today was different. The signal came from the direction of Proxima Centauri, the closest star to Earth. It was not random noise or natural radiation. This signal had patterns, mathematics, and something that made Lisa's heart race with excitement and fear. Someone or something was trying to talk. She called Commander Jake Morrison right away. Jake was a big man with gray hair and serious eyes. He had been a soldier before he came to work in space. When he arrived at Lisa's workstation, he looked at the data on her screens. "What am I looking at, Doctor?" Jake asked. Lisa pointed to the wave patterns dancing across her monitor. "Sir, this is a signal from Proxima Centauri. It's not natural. Someone is sending this to us." Jake stared at the screen. In all his years in space, he had hoped for this moment, but now that it was here, he felt scared. "Are you sure?" "Yes, sir. Look at these patterns. They repeat every few minutes, but they're getting weaker. And there's something else." Lisa typed commands into her computer. "These parts here look like distress patterns. Universal mathematics that any smart species would understand. Someone is asking for help." The two of them stood in silence for a moment. This was humanity's first contact with aliens, and it was a cry for help from across the stars. Jake picked up his radio. "Get me Captain Sam Rodriguez on the Aurora. Tell him it's urgent." While they waited, Lisa kept working on the sea. Signal. She found more patterns hidden in the data. Numbers, sequences, and what looked like star maps. But the signal was getting weaker every hour. Captain Sam Rodriguez arrived 30 minutes later. He was younger than Jake, with dark hair and quick eyes. Sam had spent his whole career flying ships in deep space. The Aurora was his ship, the fastest vessel humanity had ever built. "Commander, Doctor, what's the situation?" Sam asked. Lisa showed him everything. The patterns, the mathematics, the signs that someone was dying in the Proxima system. Sam listened carefully, asking questions about the signal's origin and strength. "How long do we have?" Sam asked. "I don't know," Lisa said. "But the signal is getting weaker. If someone is in trouble out there, they might not have much time." Jake looked at both of them. "I need to call Earth Command. This is bigger than anything we've ever dealt with." The call to Earth took 20 minutes because of the distance. General Patricia Woods appeared on the screen from her office on Earth. She was the head of Earth's space operations, a woman who had made tough decisions for 30 years. "Morrison, explain this situation," she said. Jake told her everything. The signal, the patterns, the possibility that aliens were asking for help. General Woods listened without interrupting. "Dr. Hayes," the general said, "how sure are you that this is an intelligence signal?" Lisa took a deep breath. "General, I've studied every type of natural space signal for 6 years. This is not natural. Someone is trying to communicate, and they're in trouble." "And Captain Rodriguez, how long would it take to reach Proxima Centauri?" Sam had already been thinking about this. With the Aurora's fusion drives, about 8 months. "But General, we've never tried an interstellar journey. We don't know what we'll find when we get there." General Woods was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. This could be humanity's first contact with alien life. But it could also be a trap. "Captain, are you willing to take that risk?" Sam looked at Jake and Lisa. "General, if someone sent a distress call to Earth, I'd want aliens to help us too. I volunteer for this mission." Jake stepped forward. "General, I request permission to go with Captain Rodriguez. This is too important for one person." "Denied, Commander." I need you to keep monitoring the signal from the station. Dr. Hayes, can you prepare a translation protocol? Lisa nodded. I'll work on it during the journey. General, but we need to leave soon. The signal is fading. General Woods made her decision. Captain Rodriguez, you have permission to take the Aurora to Proxima Centauri. Take your best crew and whatever supplies you need. Dr. Hayes will go with you to work on communication. This is now humanity's most important mission. 3 days. Later, the Aurora was ready to leave. It was a beautiful ship, white and silver, with powerful engines that could push it close to the speed of light. The crew was small but skilled. Engineer Tony Walsh checked every system twice. He was a careful man who had kept ships running in the dangerous outer planets for years. Chief Mechanic Ray Johnson loaded extra parts and tools. If something breaks out there, we can't call for help, he told his team. Dr. Kate Sullivan, the ship's medical officer, prepared for anything. She had no idea what aliens might look like or what they might need, but she was ready to try. Lieutenant Ben Carter plotted their course to Proxima Centauri. The journey would take them farther from Earth than any human had ever gone. As the Aurora prepared to leave, Lisa watched the alien signal on her screens. It was still there, still calling across the empty space between stars. Someone was waiting for help, and humanity was coming. Sam gave the order to launch. The Aurora's engines came to life with a blue glow that lit up the darkness around Neptune. Slowly at first, then faster and faster, the ship began its journey to another star. Jake watched from the monitoring station as the Aurora disappeared into the black void. The ship carried 17 humans toward the unknown, following a cry for help from across the galaxy. On the Aurora, Lisa set up her equipment to study the alien signal during the long journey ahead. Every day, she would try to understand more about who was calling and what they needed. The signal was still there, still weak, still asking for help. But now, for the first time in the history of the universe, help was coming. Humanity was on its way to answer the distress call that shook the stars. As Earth fell behind them and the stars grew brighter ahead, the crew of the Aurora prepared for humanity's greatest adventure. They were going to meet aliens, and they were going to save them. The Aurora had been flying through empty space for 3 months. Captain Sam Rodriguez walked through the ship's corridors every morning, checking on his crew. Space was lonely, and the journey to Proxima Centauri was the longest trip any human had ever taken. Dr. Lisa Hayes spent most of her time in the communication room, working on the alien signal. She had made progress, but it was slow work. The aliens used mathematics like humans did, but their language was completely different. Every day, she learned a few more pieces of the puzzle. Captain, Lisa called one morning. I think I figured out what they call themselves. Sam came to look at her screens. The walls were covered with paper showing alien symbols and human translations. What did you find? They call themselves the Kalari, Lisa said, and I think their ship is badly damaged. They keep sending the same message over and over. Something about their home and running away. Sam looked worried. Running away from what? I'm not sure yet. But Captain, I think something terrible happened to their planet. They're not just lost in space. They're refugees. In the ship's medical bay, Dr. Kate Sullivan was preparing for the unknown. She had studied every theory about alien life, but theories were not the same as reality. She had no idea what the Kalari looked like or what they might need to stay alive. Tony, she called to engineer Tony Walsh, who was working nearby. Do we have any way to make different kinds of air? Tony looked up from his work on the ships. Systems. What do you mean, Doc? Well, humans breathe oxygen, but aliens might breathe something else. Methane, carbon dioxide, who knows? If we rescue them, we need to keep them alive. Tony thought about this. The ship's manufacturing bay could make some basic atmosphere processors. But Kate, we don't know what they need. That's what worries me, Kate said. Chief Mechanic Ray. Johnson was busy in the engine room with his team. The Aurora's fusion drives were working perfectly, but they were pushing the ship harder than any human vessel had ever been pushed. Ray checked every system twice a day. How are we doing, Chief? Lieutenant Ben Carter asked during one of his visits. The engines are holding up fine, Ray said. But Ben, we're going farther from home than anyone has ever gone. If something breaks out there, we can't call Earth for help. Ben understood. They were 8 months away from Earth, and every day took them farther into the unknown. The ship will hold together, Ray. It has to. On the 4th month of the journey, Lisa made a breakthrough. She had been working on a section of the signal that repeated every few hours. Suddenly, the patterns made sense. Captain, she called over the ship's radio. Come to the communication room right away. Sam rushed to find Lisa staring at her screen with excitement and fear. What is it, Doctor? I translated part of their message. Captain, they're dying. Their ship is losing power and air. They have maybe weeks left, not months. Sam felt his heart sink. Are you sure? Lisa nodded. And there's more. I think they're alone. Their whole species might be gone except for the people on that ship. The news spread through the Aurora quickly. The crew had known they were going to rescue aliens, but now they understood the real situation. The Kalari were the last survivors of their entire world, floating alone in space, waiting to die. In the ship's small meeting room, Sam gathered his senior officers. Lisa, Kate, Tony, Ray, and Ben sat around the table, looking at the data Lisa had translated. How many Kalari are on their ship? Sam asked. I'm not sure, Lisa said. But from the signal strength and power usage, I think it's a small number. Maybe 20 or 30. Kate spoke up. Captain, we need to know what they breathe and how their bodies work. Without that information, we can't help them even if we reach them in time. Tony added, and we need to figure out how to connect our ships. Their technology is probably completely different from ours. Ben looked at his navigation charts. We're still 4 months away from Proxima. Will they last that long? Lisa studied her translations. I don't know. Their messages are getting weaker every week. Either their transmitter is failing, or they're losing power. Sam made a decision. We pushed the engines harder. Ray, can we cut the travel time? Ray thought about it, maybe by a few weeks. But Captain, if we burn out the drives, we'll be stuck out there with them. We take that risk, Sam said. What about communication? Lisa, can we send them a message? Lisa had been working on this problem for weeks. I think so. But Captain, we don't know how they'll react to contact from aliens. They might be scared. They're dying, Sam said. Fear is better than death. Lisa spent the next week preparing humanity's first message to another species. She used the mathematical patterns the Kalari had sent, adding simple concepts that any intelligent species would understand. She tried to say that humans had received their distress call and were coming to help. When she was ready, Lisa sent the message toward Proxima Centauri. It would take over 4 years for the signal to reach the Kalari ship, but they were getting closer every day. 2 weeks later, something amazing happened. The Kalari signal changed. Instead of the same distress call, they began sending new patterns. Lisa worked day and night to translate them. Captain, she called, her voice shaking with excitement. They heard us. They know we're coming. Sam rushed to the communication room. What are they saying? Lisa looked at her translation with tears in her eyes. They're saying thank you, over and over again. And Captain, they can't believe that another species would travel across space to help strangers. The crew of the Aurora felt a mixture of joy and pressure. The Kalari knew help was coming, but the rescue would be harder than anyone had imagined. They were still months away from a species they had never met, flying toward problems they couldn't even imagine. But they kept flying. Every day brought them closer to Proxima Centauri, closer to the Kalari, and closer to humanity's first real test among the stars. The Aurora flew on through the darkness, carrying hope to aliens who had given up on being saved. The Aurora dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system. Captain Sam Rodriguez stood on the bridge, looking at the red dwarf star that had called to humanity across the void. This moment would change everything. "Ben, what do you see?" Sam asked Lieutenant Ben Carter, who was studying the sensor readings. "Captain, there's a large object near the second planet. It's definitely artificial, and it's big. Much bigger than our ship." Ben's voice was tense with excitement and worry. Dr. Lisa Hayes was already working at her communication station. The alien signal was much stronger now, but it was also more desperate. "Captain, I'm getting clearer messages. The Kalari ship is badly damaged. They're venting atmosphere into space." On the main screen, they could see Proxima b, a rocky planet that orbited close to its red star. Near the planet was a shape that made everyone on the bridge stop and stare. The Kalari ship was enormous, at least 5 times the size of the Aurora, but it was clearly dying. Parts of the alien vessel were dark. Pieces of metal floated around it like a cloud of debris. Bright gases escaped from several holes in its hull, creating colorful streams in the darkness of space. "My God," whispered Dr. Kate Sullivan, who had come to the bridge to see their first look at alien technology. How many people were on that ship? Lisa was working frantically to translate the incoming messages. "Captain, they're trying to tell us about their situation. I think they had hundreds of crew members when they started their journey, but most are gone now." Sam felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. These beings had traveled across space just like humans did. They had families, hopes, and dreams. Now they were dying far from home. "How many survivors?" Sam asked. "I'm trying to understand their numbers," Lisa said, "but I think it's less than 20, maybe 17. Tony Walsh, the ship's engineer, was studying the alien vessel through the sensors. "Captain, their technology is incredible. Look at those drive systems." But whatever happened to them, it was catastrophic. Amy Chun, the Aurora's best pilot, joined them on the bridge. She was small and quick, with steady hands that could fly anything. "Captain, do you want me to take a shuttle over there?" "Not yet," Sam said. "We need to talk to them first." Lisa had been preparing for this moment during the entire journey. She had created a translation program that could convert human speech into the mathematical patterns that Kalari understood. Her hands shook as she activated the system. "Kalari ship, this is the human vessel Aurora. We received your distress. Call, we are here to help you." The response came immediately. Even through the translation, they could hear emotion in the alien voices. Lisa's computer turned their mathematical patterns into words that appeared on her screen. "Humans of Aurora, we cannot believe you have come. We are Kalari refugees from the dead world Kala Prime. Our ship is dying. We have 17 survivors. We are grateful beyond words that another species would cross the stars to help strangers." Everyone on the bridge felt the impact of those words. These aliens were amazed that humans would help people they had never met. Sam spoke into the communication system. "Kalari friends, we want to bring you to safety. But we need to understand your needs. What do you breathe? What do you eat? How can we keep you alive?" The answer that came back made the rescue seem impossible. "Humans, we breathe methane and ammonia gases. We require temperatures much colder than your world. Our bodies cannot survive. In your environment, just as you cannot survive in ours. We fear rescue may be impossible. Kate looked at the data with growing concern. Captain, they're right. Methane and ammonia are poisonous to humans. And if they need cold temperatures, our ship is too warm for them. Greg Foster, the Auroras, computer expert, had been quiet until now. He was a thin man with thick glasses who understood technology better than anyone on the ship. Captain, what if we don't bring them to our environment? What if we create their environment on our ship? Everyone looked at him. Explain, Sam said. The cargo bay, Greg said. It's big enough, and we can seal it off from the rest of the ship. If we can make methane ammonia atmosphere and cool it down, we could create a space where the Kalari can survive. Tony was already thinking about the engineering problems. We'd need to manufacture the gases, install cooling systems, and create a completely separate life support system. And we'd need to do it fast. How fast? Sam asked. Lisa was monitoring the Kalari communications. Captain, their life support is failing rapidly. I think we have maybe 2 days before they start dying. The bridge was quiet for a moment. Everyone understood the challenge. They had to build an alien environment using human technology in less than 48 hours. There's another problem, Amy said. How do we get them from their ship to ours? We can't breathe their air, and they can't breathe ours. Danny Kim, the electronics specialist, had an idea. What about a transfer tube? Something that connects both ships and maintains their atmosphere? Ray Johnson, who had come to the bridge to hear the situation, shook his head. We don't have materials for something like that, and we don't know how their ship's docking systems work. Sam looked at his crew. These were humanity's best and brightest, and they were telling him the rescue was impossible. But he remembered something from his military training. Impossible just meant no one had figured out how to do it yet. We're not giving up, Sam said firmly. These people sent a distress call across space, and we came to answer it. We're going to find a way. Lisa was still talking to the Kalari, learning more about their situation. Captain, they're sending us technical information about their ship. They're trying to help us figure out how to rescue them. Greg was studying the alien technical data. This is incredible. Their computers are much more advanced than ours, but the basic principles are similar. I think I can establish a direct link between our systems. Do it, Sam ordered. Tony, Ray, start working on the cargo bay conversion. Kate, figure out how to keep aliens alive in an environment that would kill us. Amy, Danny, work on the transfer. Problem: the crew scattered to their tasks. They had less than 2 days to do something no human had ever attempted. They had to save 17 aliens using technology and methods that didn't exist as they worked. The Kalari ship continued to die in the cold space around Proxima Centauri. But for the first time in months, the aliens had hope. Humans had come across the galaxy to help them, and humans didn't accept that rescue was impossible. The Aurora's cargo bay had become a construction site unlike anything in human history. Tony Walsh and Ray Johnson worked without sleep, turning the large empty space into an alien world. The air was filled with the sound of cutting tools and welding equipment as they built humanity's first alien habitat. Temperatures down to minus 40 degrees, Ray called out, his breath visible in the cold air. But we need to get it much colder. Tony was installing gas processors that would create the methane ammonia atmosphere the Kalari needed to breathe. The cooling system is working, but this is going to use most of our ship's power. Captain Sam Rodriguez watched the work from the observation window above the cargo bay. Maria Santos, the ship's logistics chief, stood beside him with a worried expression. She was a careful woman who managed all the ship's supplies and resources. Captain, we're using materials faster than I've ever seen, Maria said. If this doesn't work, we won't have enough supplies to try again. Sam nodded grimly. They had one chance to save the Kelari, and everything had to work perfectly. In the communication room, Dr. Lisa Hayes was coordinating with the aliens. The Kalari had sent detailed information about their physical needs, but the data was sometimes hard to understand. They need the gas mixture to be exactly right, Lisa told Dr. Kate Sullivan, who was preparing medical equipment. Too much methane, and they get sick. Too little ammonia, and they can't breathe properly. Kate was working on the biggest challenge of her career. Lisa, I have no idea how to treat alien injuries or illness. I'm preparing every medical tool we have, but I'm working blind. Meanwhile, Amy Chun was solving the most dangerous part of the rescue. She had to figure out how to move 17 aliens from their dying ship to the Aurora without killing them or herself. Danny Kim was helping her design a transfer system. The problem is pressure, Amy explained to Captain Rodriguez. Their ship has different air pressure than ours. If we get it wrong, the Kalari could die instantly. Danny was working with cables and computers, trying to connect human and alien technology. I think I can link our systems to theirs. But Amy, this transfer tube we're building has never been tested. Greg Foster had established communication with the Kalari computers. He was amazed by their advanced technology, but worried about the differences between human and alien systems. Captain, their ship is incredibly sophisticated, Greg reported, but it's failing in ways I don't understand. Some of their crew sections have already lost life support completely. The first day passed in a blur of desperate work. The crew pushed themselves beyond exhaustion, knowing that 17 lives depended on their success. But as the second day began, new problems appeared. Captain, Tony called over the radio. The gas mixture isn't working right. We're getting chemical reactions we didn't expect. Sam rushed to the cargo bay, where Tony and Ray were staring at readings on their equipment. The methane and ammonia gases were combining in ways that created toxic compounds. Can you fix it? Sam asked. Ray looked exhausted. We need to add filters and change the mixture ratios. But Captain, this will take hours we don't have. At the same time, Amy was discovering problems with the transfer tube. The materials they were using couldn't handle the pressure differences between the two ships. The tube keeps collapsing, Amy told Sam. If we try to use it, both ships could lose atmosphere. Sam felt the weight of failure pressing down on him. Everything they had worked for was falling apart. But then Lisa came running from the communication room with news. Captain, the Kalari want to help more directly. They're willing to send one of their engineers over to work with us. Sam stared at her. That's impossible. They can't survive in our environment. They know that, Lisa said. But they have environmental suits that might work for a short time. They want to try. This was the moment when the rescue became truly dangerous. The Kalari were willing to risk their lives too. Help save their own people. But if something went wrong, humans and aliens could die together. Amy volunteered immediately. Captain, I'll take a shuttle to their ship and bring their engineer back. We can modify one of our airlocks to create a safe transfer point. Amy, if their suit fails, they'll die instantly, Sam warned. And if we don't try, they'll all die anyway. Amy replied. Sam made the hardest decision of his life. Do it. Amy prepared her shuttle while Danny and Greg worked to modify an airlock. They had to create a small space where a Kalari could work safely while wearing their environmental suit. The flight to the alien ship took only 30 minutes, but it felt like hours. Amy had never seen anything like the Kalari vessel up close. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time, a masterpiece of engineering that was slowly dying. The Kalari engineer who came aboard Amy's shuttle was unlike anything humans had imagined. They were tall and thin, with long limbs and a complex breathing apparatus. Their environmental suit was clearly advanced technology, but Amy could see it was damaged. "Human Amy," the alien said through their translation device, "I am Engineer Vorth. I will help save my people." Back on the Aurora, Vorth worked with Tony and Ray to solve the gas mixture problem. The aliens' knowledge of chemistry was far beyond human understanding, but they explained things in simple terms that humans could follow. "Your approach is correct," Vorth told them, "but you must add trace elements. Your computers did not know our bodies need these chemicals in small amounts." With Vorth's help, the cargo bay atmosphere began to stabilize. The temperature reached the cold levels the Kalari needed. For the first time, the rescue seemed possible, but then disaster struck. Vorth's environmental suit began to fail. The alien engineer had been working in human atmosphere for too long, and their life support was running out. "Get them back to the shuttle," Kate shouted, running to help with her medical equipment. Amy grabbed Vorth and carried them toward the airlock. The alien was getting weaker by the moment, their breathing apparatus making desperate sounds. "Must finish the work," Vorth whispered. "My people need the transfer tube to be safe." Even while dying, the alien engineer was trying to save their crew. This was the moment when the humans truly understood what they were fighting for. These were not just aliens. They were people with courage, love, and hope. Amy got Vorth back to their ship just in time. The alien engineer survived, but barely, and their sacrifice had given the humans the knowledge they needed to complete the rescue. System. The cargo bay was ready. The transfer tube was working. In 6 hours, they would attempt the most dangerous rescue in human history. The rescue began at dawn, ship time aboard the Aurora. Captain Sam Rodriguez stood in the control room, watching his crew prepare for the most important mission in human history. The transfer tube connected the two ships like a bridge between worlds. Amy Chun was ready in her environmental suit, checking every system one more time. She would pilot the rescue shuttles and help move the Kalari to safety. Her hands were steady, but her heart was racing. First group ready for transfer, Danny Kim announced from his position at the airlock controls. The transfer tube was working perfectly, maintaining the cold methane ammonia atmosphere the aliens needed. Dr. Lisa Hayes was talking to the Kalari through the communication system. "The first 4 survivors are ready to move," she told the captain. "But Sam, they're scared. They've never seen humans before, and they don't know if they can trust us." "Tell them we came 4 light years to help them," Sam said. "We're not giving up now." The first Kalari to cross into the Aurora was an elderly alien named Zeph. They moved slowly through the transfer tube, their long limbs shaking with weakness and fear. Dr. Kate Sullivan watched through the observation window, her medical equipment ready. When Zeph entered the converted cargo bay, something amazing happened. The aliens stopped moving and stood perfectly still. Then they spoke through their translation device. "The air is perfect. The temperature is correct. Humans, you have created a piece of our whole world inside your ship." Kate smiled with relief. Months of preparation had paid off. The Kalari could survive in the environment they had built. One by one, the aliens crossed from their dying ship to the Aurora. Each transfer took careful coordination between Amy, Danny, and the Kalari crew. Some of the aliens were injured and needed help walking. Others were so weak they had to be carried. By midday, 14 Kalari were safe in the cargo bay, but 3 aliens were still trapped on their ship. These were the crew members who had stayed at their posts until the very end, keeping the ship's systems running so their people could escape. "The last section is losing power," Greg Foster reported from his computer station. "The 3 remaining Kalari have maybe 30 minutes before their life support fails completely." Sam looked at the readings. The alien ship was dying faster than they had expected. Pieces of it were breaking off and floating into space. Amy was already preparing for another shuttle trip. "Captain, I can reach them, but the docking port near their section is damaged. I'll have to EVA to get them out." EVA meant spacewalk. Amy would have to leave her shuttle and work in the vacuum of space to rescue the last 3 aliens. It was incredibly dangerous. "Amy, if something goes wrong out there, we can't help you," Sam warned. Those 3 Kalari stayed behind to save. "They're friends," Amy said. "Someone has to save them." Amy launched her shuttle toward the dying alien ship. The Kalari vessel was breaking apart more quickly now. Whole sections were dark and lifeless. But in one small area, lights still flickered, showing where the last 3 survivors waited. The docking port was completely destroyed. Amy had to anchor her shuttle to the alien hull and use her suit's propulsion system to reach the trapped crew members. She carried extra environmental suits designed for the Kalari. Inside the failing ship section, Amy found the 3 aliens. They were weak and scared, but they were alive. 2 of them were engineers who had been trying to keep the power systems running. The third was the ship's captain, a Kalari named Jorik. "Human Amy," Captain Jorik said through the translation system, "you should not have risked your life for us." "That's what friends do," Amy replied, helping them into the emergency suits. "We take care of each other." But as they prepared to leave, disaster struck. The ship section they were in suddenly lost structural integrity. The hull began to crack. An atmosphere started venting into space. That Amy grabbed the 2 engineers and pushed them toward her shuttle. But Captain Jorik was trapped behind a piece of fallen equipment. The alien captain was going to die without thinking. Amy went back. She used her suit's tools to cut through the debris, working as fast as she could, while the ship section fell apart around them. The Kalari captain watched in amazement as this small human risked everything to save an alien stranger. Amy got Jorik free just as the entire section exploded. The force of the explosion threw them both toward her shuttle. Amy managed to grab the airlock just as the Kalari ship's final section disintegrated. They made it back to the Aurora with seconds to spare. All 17 Kalari survivors were now safe in the cargo bay, breathing the artificial atmosphere that human engineers had created for them. But the rescue was only the beginning of something much bigger. During the 8-month journey back to Earth, humans and Kalari learned to understand each other. The aliens told the story of their homeworld's destruction. A massive solar flare had made their planet uninhabitable, giving them only months to evacuate. Most of their people had died, but these 17 had escaped in their deep space ship. What amazed the Kalari most was not human technology, which they admitted was primitive compared to theirs. What amazed them was human determination. They could not understand why humans would risk everything to save complete strangers from another species. "In our travels through space," Captain Jorik explained to Sam one day, "we have met many intelligent species. Most ignore other races. Some are hostile. But never have we encountered people who would cross the galaxy to help strangers." The Kalari offered to share their advanced technology with humanity as payment for the rescue. But they offered something even more valuable. They wanted to become humanity's partners in space, the first interstellar alliance in galactic history. When the Aurora returned to Earth, it carried more than refugees. It carried the news that humanity was no longer alone in the universe. The Kalari had sent messages to other alien species, telling them about the humans who answered distress calls from across the stars. Within a year, 3 more alien species contacted Earth. They had heard about humanity's rescue of the Kalari, and they wanted to meet the people who would risk everything to help others. Captain Rodriguez, now promoted to admiral, stood in his new office on Earth's first interstellar space station. Through his window, he could see ships from 4 different worlds docked together. Humans worked alongside aliens, building something that had never existed before. The distress call that had started everything was now just a memory. But its impact would last forever. Humanity had found its place in the galaxy, not as conquerors or merchants, but as the people who came when others called for help. The rescue of 17 Kalari refugees had become the foundation of an interstellar civilization built on cooperation and hope. And somewhere in space, new distress calls were being answered by ships flying the combined flags of Earth and its alien allies. The stars were no longer empty. They were full of friends.